Hello and welcome to the show. My name is John Richardson and you're listening to Richardson's Rubicon. The podcast is all about Escape to EverQuest, or this season is anyway, and it's episode 6 now. I've got a chat a bit later on with a chap called Jordan Dahl, and he's going to tell us all about Shadow Knights and his thing. So that's going to be great. It was a great chat, so I look forward to hearing that. And I just want to give you a quick update before we do of where I currently am at the moment. Well, actually, this is a big fat lie because like other podcasts who have covered EverQuest, the lag between your actual experience in game and how often you can give updates becomes more and more as time progresses. So I'm really giving you an update on something that happened a couple of weeks ago. And that was basically when a person called Blingy on the Project 99 forums responded to my request of where do I go next? And I basically mentioned that I was pretty short of cash. And they gave a really, really helpful tip, which was go to the Ocean of Tears. Now then, I didn't really consider the Ocean of Tears to be a place where I could go at that level. I think I was around about, 22-ish. I can't remember exactly. I do apologise. I was roughly around about 22, 24, I think, whilst I was going there. But the point is, I was going to the Haunted Island, and that was where there's a bunch of spectres at the top, and the island itself is inhabited by gargoyles, and they're on the Mistmoor faction. So basically, you kill these gargoyles, and the thing about them was that they usually dropped eyes, and these eyes are worth about 9 plat, which is great, and it helped me save up for my next round of spells, so that was a really good thing. Yeah, I went there before I went to Mistmoor and played next to the pond, which was in the last episode. So this is kind of a catch-up moment, I think. So yeah, that's good. And this whole island, though, is hardly visited, although that might change. And when you do get there, you can come to an arrangement with someone and just say, you do that half of the island and I'll do this half. Or basically they might say, well, I'm going now, it's all yours, or whatever. The key is just to be polite about it, really, and work with the person that's already there. And yeah, so you basically kill these gargoyles, but if you kill too many of the gargoyles and all these skeletons start to spawn, and they were pretty green, and obviously they drop bones and stuff, so it's kind of win-win for a necromancer. But, that's not the reason you're there. The reason you're there is for XP, and the reason you're there is for these eyes. So sometimes what you have to do is keep on killing these skellies as placeholders. But one technique I found was to just leave as many of the gargoyles up as you bear to leave up, in fairness, and just kill a couple every now and again. And what then used to happen was the other gargoyles on the island used to kill the skeletons. So it was kind of like self-populating. It was really, really quite good. But you don't go there if you're going for an exciting time. You don't go there if you're looking for, rockin' XP. You just go there if you want to take it easy, you're chilling, you might be Netflixing whilst you're doing this, all of that sort of stuff. It's just like it was an easy sort of mob to kill, essentially, and worthwhile in terms of platinum at that level. I don't think I'd be going back now because I'm too high for that now, and I found another source of income, which I'll go on to on my next episode. But yeah, it was a really good experience. I just thought I'd share that anyway. Okay, so enough about that. I will head straight over to the chat with Jordan. He was a brilliant chap, and I hope you enjoy the chat as much as I did.
This season is about EverQuest, the MMORPG that started it all. Tell us what you think. Take part now. Visit richardsonsrubicon.com.
Okay, so I'm joined now by Jordan Dahl from New York, and he's a current Scotsman, and he's been playing EverQuest since the year 2000. And hi, Jordan, how are you doing?
Hello, yes. I would say culturally American, biologically Scots, just because they can't figure out how to get it out of the blood. I'm told there's a pill they're working on, but honestly, I wouldn't take it. I love it.
It's tartan.
Yes, exactly.
You don't choose a red or a blue, it's all together.
Exactly. It's like one of those tests for checking if you're a computer when you go on a website, but you have to pick out which one's tartan. Is this tartan or plaid? And then it can tell. Good. Yeah.
So, EverQuest, you started in 2000.
I did.
When was that in terms of game expansions?
That it was right as Kunark launched. My friend, I remember there were scant few kind of like true deep nerds in my high school, and it was me and this other kid. And he was like, "Have you heard about online gaming?"
Yeah.
Like, yes, I have. I can't believe these. So these are other people running around in here. I remember that really blew my mind. The idea of those being other actual adventurers. And he was trying to get me to play. And then Kunark launched. I was kind of lukewarm on it. I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of a PlayStation guy. And then Kunark launched. And I was like, lizard people, wait a minute. Now we're talking. And so I jumped in, I made an Ixar Shadow Knight. I had a couple other characters through the years. I think when Yakesha came out, I made a Froglock Shaman, but I stopped playing. I think I jumped to World of Warcraft, that shall not be named. During Yakesha. I know.
I promise everyone I'll edit that bit out.
Okay. Everybody just recoiling from their podcasting apparatus. Dracula in the sun. But yeah, started in 2000, played up through, I would say Yakesha is when I jumped ship. I got my Shadow Knight to 65, bunch of, what were they called? The alternate advancement points, had like the mega harm touch. Finally got into a raiding guild. For some reason, I was very bashful about that as a youth. I never wanted to reach out and be like, "Can I play with you guys?" I was like, nobody's going to want to play with me. So I did a lot of soloing, and a lot of kind of grinding in the crypt of Dalnir, trying to unearth secrets of Kunark that people hadn't, because there was stuff that was broken, but we were just like, no, it's just a mystery. Nobody has discovered it yet. And we're going to be the first ones. I was exceedingly nerdy about it all.
Very good. So that's going on to the bit that we're going to talk about a bit later, which is the Greenmist stuff, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So before we go on to that, though, what in terms of the expansion, so you played Legacy of Yakesha, and just remind me, wasn't that the one with the Froglocks? You played the Froglock? And Gunthak Docks or something?
Yeah. There was like a troll harbor that was all like shrouded in mist, and you could dye your armor for the first time. And I remember, I was so pumped about that. I had like a red and black motif going on. I'd never been so Shadow Knight-y before. I remember also when Shadows of Luclin, is it Luclin or Luclin? I've never
Luclin. I've looked that up. It's actually Luclin. Yeah, people do call it Luclin, but it is Luclin. Yeah.
I've been calling it Luclin this whole time, and somebody corrected me. So I'm going back. I'm going back to Luclin. Yeah. I played on the Luclin server actually, and I remember when that dropped and they redid all the character models. Blew my mind. That was the biggest day of my life. And a lot of people look back on them and kind of hate them.
They do.
Yeah. I love it.
Which is a shame, because some of it was good, I think.
Yeah. I remember my computer couldn't handle the graphical update.
Oh my God.
And my dad had gotten me a bunch of like PC upgrades for Christmas. And I had to beg him, like, "Dad, please just give me a little bit of RAM." So I could just a smidge. So I can at least get
so I could turn the distance up just a little bit.
All I wanted to do was turn the Ixar models on, which I did. And I remember it wasn't like, it didn't fully work. Like my character wasn't wearing pants. It was just a breastplate. And I was like, it's good enough. I'm in, baby.
That'll do. Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, those were the days, weren't they?
Those were the days, scraping by. Just a few hundred more RAM, and I can see what it's really like in there.
So obviously we all had great. I think that expansion, Legacy of Yakisha, was brilliant, and then we had Lost Dungeons of Norath as well.
Yeah.
That was also a brilliant expansion. I think
that was a great one because, like I said, I wasn't really up with like a raiding guild or anything like that. I wasn't really doing a ton of end game content. I did some in Planes of Power. We were kind of like an entry level raiding guild, but I didn't have the gear. I wasn't geared up to be like, a main tank on any of these god battles. And when Lost Dungeons came out, they came out with that system where you could repeat the dungeons and get that currency and eventually purchase like some real
stuff.
end game shit. Yeah. And I remember getting my first like stat breastplate from Lost Dungeons of Norath and being like, all right, I'm ready now.
And
everybody was like,
I'm good to go.
It's okay. We've already got someone. Like, oh, come on.
Let me in, guys. I just played for so long to get this.
Covered in the sand.
So switching back now, we're going all over the place, but if we go back to Cunark era and the stuff that you were talking about, the stuff that's broken,
right?
Tell us a bit more about that.
Okay, so that was kind of my heyday because that was really like that was when I jumped in and Ixar were still like they were very much like the evil race of evil races. They weren't even allowed in like the other evil cities. They weren't, I don't think we were even supposedly allowed to wear plate at the time because we had like scales or something. There was some kind of in-lore reason. So I think they had built it in such a way that like an Ixar could level all the way to 60 by staying in Cunark. So there was all of these that like the lore was really deep and kind of like the saga of the Ixar, how they had once been, enslaved by the Shisar and then the Sarnak, and like they conquered the Shisar with a biological weapon that they called the Greenmist that would kill Shisar but not Ixar, and they banished them to Luckland, to the moon, which we wouldn't see them again until Luckland. But yeah, I remember getting way into like just kind of the lore of it. I've always been that kind of player. Like I have a lot of friends who play like Magic the Gathering, and for the longest time I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get into it. And it's because every time I see a card and I'm like, oh, Goblin Pie Sneak, what's his whole deal? I want to know everything about this guy. And they're like, well, there's a little quote on the card and that's pretty much all you get. And it's like, no, I want to know all about how he became a pie sneak. Is there a guild of pie sneaks? What does pie sneaking entail? And so I really got into how EverQuest presented kind of the lore of the Ixar and just how they had their own weird little society. And like, particularly because I was playing a Shadow Knight, it's the Crusaders of Greenmist. You get into the Crusaders of Greenmist and it doesn't like the game never holds your hand. It's never like the game that shall not be named will have, tooltips pop up and be like, go to this guild and ask this question. Whereas like in EverQuest, especially back then, you had to rely on word of mouth and other like Shadow Knights who knew the right phrase to say to, Lord Kezar or whatever to get him to reveal the next piece of information about some kind of like just deep lore story that was like, an ancient, Ixar Shadow Knight had this amazing weapon that was called Greenmist. And we knew that we could work our way up through the cookery quests because you start out with one when you go and you speak to the Shadow Knight Guild. They're like, here's your cookery. It's the special weapon of a Shadow Knight. And then you're like, oh, I can get another one. Oh, I can get another one. Oh, they're getting better. And around that time you hear about the legend of Greenmist and you're like, oh shit.
Oh yeah.
I see where this is going. And it's almost like they gave Ixar their own epic because they were so unwelcome elsewhere. They were like, you guys can hunt for this one, but it was broken. Greenmist was broken.
Right. Was that officially broken or was that just
they never
broken?
said anything about it, but later they fixed it.
Right.
They were like, Greenmist is finally in the game. And this had been like a year and a half of the Shadow Knight community like pouring through the text of what like certain like what the Shadow Knight guild leaders were saying, what they were telling you about like Veneral Saphir and his son Ryle, what is the year of our birth and who is our father? 371 AG, Ryle is our father. And we all knew these little tidbits, and like the quests seem to be leading you in this weird kind of this winding path toward Greenmist. But you could only get to like the Lord of Pain's cookery, and then it was like these missing ends. And everybody figured it had something to do with the Crypt of Dalnir, because there was like, I remember one of the kind of dead ends was there are these notes around Dalnir that you can pick up, which is from a Crusader who was down there like looking for Greenmist, I think. And he mentions that there's like shards of the blade. He talks about the visceral dagger. I think it's the Crusader's test. For the Crusader cookery, you have to get the visceral dagger.
Can I just pause here for a second?
Sure, yeah.
Just to basically say to people that it's cookery, KHUKRI, and cookery, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Which is all baking and frying. And
it's our cookery. Oh my goodness.
So the Crusaders cookery.
Beetle bakes, bladder of lizard milk. And so lots of very insect based, and so it all kind of dead ended in Dalnir, and there's these notes about this guy's kind of journey through it, finding the visceral dagger, and he dies down there. He doesn't make it out, but he mentions that there's a Crusader named Golan who was his friend, and he's like, I could resurrect Golan. Golan knows something about Greenmist, and I could resurrect Golan, but I would have to talk to the Crusaders I would have to talk to the necromancers about getting a Crusader's coffin. And you could go to, there's a merchant next to the Crusader, or next to the Necromancer Guild in Cabalus, and they sell a Crusader coffin. And you can also identify parts of like certain specific named bones and weapons that drop in Dalnir as belonging to this guy Golan. And the idea was we could put them into the Crusader coffin, combine them, it would summon Golan, and then we could ask him where like further questions about Greenmist. But nobody ever cracked that part. And you can actually still get the parts. And if you look up that kind of dead end on the P99 wiki, you can see that it summons a skeleton pet called Crusader Golan, but it's been defunct because later on they came in and they changed. There was like a big patch note that was like, Greenmist is now in the game, and a lot of us were like, what the have I been doing this whole time, man? And it was so, John, it was so bad. I had like, I must have sent 15 emails to SOE being like, as a proud Ixar Shadow Knight, we really feel we deserve the attention that other classes are getting. And, there's a lot of us who spend a lot of time, and please. And I think I sent some emails in character.
No.
Yeah. And there was also like somebody had data mined the model for the sword, so we knew what it looked like.
Right.
And it didn't look like any of the other ones. It looked like almost like, those fish that have the saw nose that has the teeth going down it.
Yeah, like a swordfish.
A sawfish, though, like with the saw, the saw blade. Okay. It looked like that. It was like jagged. And if you go to City of Mist today, you can actually see they use the same assets for it on the gate. You can see the blades for it, and it was like that. And it had the Kabbalist symbol on the hilt, and it was like a completely unique model. I think they used it for later. There was a weapon called the Crescent Blades of Lucklin that used the same model, and people were pissed about that. And then when they finally dropped Greenmist on us, and you could actually complete it, and it was this very involved, epic sort of quest. they gave it the katana model, which was cool, but we were like, this looks nothing like the rest of them. There was a lot of people who were disappointed. Like, it didn't have the symbol of Cabalus on it. It didn't look like a kukri. The nerds, oh boy, they stoked the flames once more. But luckily, it was a weapon that beat ass. So we were like, hell yeah, this rules.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
So did you got that? I take it.
I got it. I got misted up. And
misted up. I love it.
Misted up. That's what we call it. I'm working on it right now. I'm back on P99 green server. It's so funny. It's so funny. It was like maybe 5 months ago. I was like, just some kind of late night internet hole. Like, remember EverQuest? Remember how much fun we had out there in Norath and the plains of power? And I started Googling it and I came across P99. I was like, oh, people are still playing. They're playing Kunark Velius era. That was my jam. That's my old hood. And I fired it up and I made almost muscle memory made an Ixar Shadow Knight.
Yeah.
And I was back. I was back in Kabbalah.
I'm here.
And like for the first like 20 minutes, I was like, I can't believe I played this so much. What was I even what even drew me to it? And then 5 hours later, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay, what's that, Lord Kizar? I need to find a specific skeleton and kill him for a specific named sword. You can count on me, my dude. And now I'm level 42. I'm out here grinding, trying to get to raid level. Shout out Ancient Blood. It's an all.
Oh, you're an Ancient Blood.
It's an all Ixar guild. Absolutely. Hiss, y'all. And it's so much fun. I'm right back in.
Yeah. So what's your character name on P99 Green?
My character is Razor Lou.
All right.
Razor Lou is kind of my handle all over social media. I've been using it forever. Can't even remember why, but that's like my online alter ego. And then I remembered when I hit 20 that you could do a surname.
Oh,
so
yes.
His surname is How About You? So it's Razor Lou. How about you? Mainly because I didn't realize that I could never change it again. I was like, let's have a little fun. And now every time I see it, I'm like, I probably should have done something a little more evil there. Yeah. And that's because I'm getting back into like the role play of it all. I'm like, yes, the Ixar Shadow Knights, the Crusaders of Greenmist. My first character was named Karash Dreadclaw.
Oh, that's perfect.
It's great. It's great. It was so badass. Yeah. I mean, not in the real world, nobody cared, but in the game, so badass.
Yeah. So how are you fighting? I take it you're enjoying it now on P90.
I am. I'm liking it a lot, largely because I found this cool guild and everybody's so nice on P99. People like right out of the gate were just like, oh, you're new? Here's a ton of stuff. Here's a bunch of new starting gear. Here's a resurrection when you need it. I remember back when it was just full of strangers, thousands and thousands of strangers. It was like being a solo player was so difficult because you'd be like, I died in this place and there's no way to get help. There's no one's going to help you here.
No.
Karash Dreadclaw. And I remember having to beg to get people to summon my corpse or to help me go into a dungeon to camp. And that I was like trying to camp stuff way before I was ready. It never crossed my mind to just like grind out the levels and then come back when you're OP and do it yourself. But these days it's like even within the guild, I can be like, man, I died in the over there to a stupid chicken that came out of nowhere because somebody trained the Skyfire zone. And like 2 or 3 people in the guild will be like, oh yeah, I'll pop my cleric over. No problem. And it's just, people are incredibly friendly and willing to help out.
Yeah.
And like,
I've found that out as well. I mean, I'm just in a guild at the moment. I just joined it. Despite the fact I do a podcast, despite the fact that I like talking to people, I don't actually seem to connect well in game with people for some reason. I don't know what it is.
I get that,
but I just don't. You know, I say hi in guild.
Yeah,
that's it.
I feel that. I feel that. And I think I'm much better at it than I used to be. Just like chatting, because at the time I was like, these people are here to play a game and that's it. And now it's kind of like, oh, let's goof around. It's a chat room. I'll ask people stuff, but it definitely, I think it just comes down to time played. When you've played long enough with everybody, they're like, oh, you're back. I know you because I see your name.
That's right. It's a sense of familiarity, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the recognition gets everything going, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also like it does something really interesting because like I mentioned earlier, like EQ doesn't hold your hand in the way that a lot of games do now. Well, like MMOs specifically do, where they'll kind of guide you around, and there's like, these intro quests to get your first weapon or whatever.
Woo-hoo,
and
a club.
Yeah. Bring me 50 rawhide pelts. And it kind of fosters that community thing where you have to be like, hey, you're a Shadow Knight. What can you tell me about this? And so there are like some of my closest friends on EQ are just the other Shadow Knights, because I've had to be like, hey, what do you know about camping this mob? Hey, can you come help me trying to do the visceral dagger thing? And like, you would have to explain the whole thing to, say, a bard, whereas another Shadow Knight will be like, say less.
No
I'm
worries.
there. I've done it. I know exactly what you're looking for. Here's a tip on how to do it better.
Yeah. You've made a good point there, actually. A lot of people do sort of congregate around their classes a little bit, don't they?
Yeah. Which is a testament to, the kind of built-in lore and the invisible gears that are turning within the game that brought me back after 20 years,
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, it's really amazing. That whole social aspect thing of it, but the depth of the lore in the game it's incredible, isn't it, really?
It's incredible. It definitely is what, like I was saying when I started playing, and I was like, what am I even doing here? Like, once I started to get back into the lore, that's when the fangs went in and it really shook me. And I was like, oh, that's right. There's, the Crypt of Dalnir, or the old Haggle Baron. What a bastard he was. And he's got all of these secret chambers, a tomb within a tomb, so he could hide from people who wanted to rob him. And now the Klai have moved in, this cult of evil Sarnak, and they've taken it over. And I have to stop them because I'm a sworn enemy. I'm a Crusader of Greenmist, for crying out loud.
Excellent stuff. So, any thoughts on the future?
I'm excited to get to kind of max out my character and dive into a lot of the end game stuff that I missed the first time around. I'm hoping that they don't, keep pushing forward with expansions. I'm hoping that they're going to keep it at Kunark Velius for long enough that I get to really dig into the end game content of those two expansions. Following that, I'd be like, I wouldn't mind to see Plains of Power come around again. I wouldn't mind to see another Luckland server or something. I know I'm going to get dragged for that, but
no, well, I wouldn't drag you for that. Don't worry about that. So, I'll leave that for everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. Come at me. It's very funny. Every once in a while, I'll mention like an expansion that happened after Kunark or Velius in guild chat, and people will be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That thing doesn't exist. That is the people went to the moon. What are you talking about? It's very funny. It's kind of an ongoing goof.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So, in that case, then, we've got a quality of life discussion coming up on the podcast soon, around about various bits that were introduced with Plains of Power and all of that business. So, do you want me to hit you up with that? See if you want to come on and talk about that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I have opinions on spell effects. I love when they changed the darkness effect to actually be darkness. And don't even get me started on Ixar skeleton pets. They never did it, but why would an Ixar Shadow Knight summon a human skeleton as a pet?
I mean, well, The might.
I think he would say, because there are exoskeletons walking around in the field of bone. They know what those look like. I feel like if you were to summon a skeleton and a human skeleton popped up, he'd be like, "What's wrong with it? What happened to its tail? Why is its head so round?"
Yeah. What an ugly thing. Take it away.
Yeah. Oh God, what have I done?
Dear. Right. So have you got anything else then?
No, I mean, I'll hit me up in game, y'all. Let's party.
I will do.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant. Well, Jordan, it's been fascinating talking to you and your whole breadth of knowledge, really, on the whole.
Thank you.
The whole Greenmist thing.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to kind of barf it all up. I've got no one to talk to, John.
Barf it all up. You do yourself a disservice by saying that, you know. Right. Well, thanks very much. We'll catch you again.
Thanks for having me.
That was Jordan Doll, aka Razor Lou, and he was such a great chap. Loved chatting to him. So he's been invited to come back on the show, and we're doing a quality of life piece with Rob Hall. You may remember Rob from a previous episode. Hopefully Jordan can also join in. And so that's good. The other thing I wanted to say before I do eventually go and you can get on with the rest of your life is that I'm opening up a slot for guild leaders. Now, primarily Project 1999 guild leaders, and they can come on the show and chat about their guilds, what their aims are, what vacancies they currently have, anything that they've recently done of note, boast a little bit, brag a little bit, basically just tell us what you're all about. So if you do want to do that, then just get in touch with the show, richardsonsrubicon.com, just book a slot and we'll have you on ASAP. Right, that's it. I'm going now. Bye.